Howard Windham. I have a show coming up at the IMAGO Gallery. It's titled Ooh Papa Doo. More about that later perhaps. And I usually work fairly small. I'll work in collage. I like to work with gouache. And I work sometimes with wood assemblages, and that's kind of what I've been doing recently. I have a group of small wood assemblages, and I'm still working on the other things that I'm going to have in this show, even though it's coming up very quickly. Ooh Papa Doo. Ooh Papa Doo is a word coined by a Philadelphia, New York disc jockey known as Jacko Henderson, who hosted radio, TV, and live rock and roll shows in the 1950s. Some credit him as being the father of rap for his ad-lib rhyming patter, as in Ooh Papa Doo, how do you do? I've always liked the word. It's fun to say. Try it. It would be a great name for a band, one of Frank Zappa's grandchildren, or your next household pet, or for an art exhibit. It also has a kind of da-da ring to it, as in Ooh Papa Da-Da Do, or more scatologically, as a spoonerism, Ooh Da-Da Poo. So, Ooh Papa Doo, this is what I do. This is part of my living room. A couple of drawings from some time ago of faces. I like to do faces. These are ink drawings, and I'm fascinated with faces. I see them everywhere. I had a show at IMAGO a couple of years ago that was largely about faces. This is one of the new pieces going into the show. It's a wooden assemblage. As you can see, it is face-like. It segues from the things I have been doing. Most of the new work is not quite as spatial as this. This is called The Style Revisited. It reminds me of Theo van Doesburg stuff. I often draw from art and design history for themes. This is kind of the Mondrian, the basic colors. I'm having a lot of fun making these, and one of the things about them that drives me a little bit nuts is that sometimes when I turn them around to the B side, there's something else going on that I'm not showing, but I kind of like it. In fact, I have one going now that I started with the A side and now I'm using the B side. This is called Let's Make a Wall. I'm a cheapskate, I'm a skinflint. I hate to pay for materials, although I do. But this is made up mostly of things that I've either found or had lying around the house. The main piece of wood here I found in a boatyard, and it had a hole in it that just so happened to fit that old lock. It's called Let's Build a Wall because on the top there's a little piece of a little toy here that says Made in Germany East. And of course walls right now are kind of a political statement, so why not? The key does fit in here. This one's called Our Public School. It's made up of old pieces of wooden toys and other things. Old chair legs upside down. And I get into the colors, I get into the textures. This is part of an old picture frame. It's basically junk. I work small. This particular group are all relatively the same size, not because I really wanted them to be that way, but the pieces of wood that I was working with happened to cut out in these shapes. And some of them are a little bigger, some a little smaller, but generally this size. They're about 6 by 8 inches. This is Alice's restaurant. It's a bit of a mixed metaphor, I think. We've got, supposedly it's Alice down here. The other Alice, she's standing on a little thing that says do not eat, as in Alice in Wonderland. We've got the turkey for Thanksgiving, and the church that Alice's restaurant was in on top. We have a kind of family tradition on Thanksgiving of listening to Arlo singing Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want except an Alice. But here she is. These are kind of intense. I work on them. Sometimes I work on 2 at a time, but most of the time it's just one. And when I'm done with it, it's kind of, that's it.
You move on.
Yeah. Humor in art doesn't happen very often. Paul Clay did a couple of laughable pieces, but somehow the visual arts are too damn serious. There should be more giggles in visual art. So I try to play around with that. Another thing about what I do is I've always been a reader. I think most artists have some other influence that they play with. Clay again played the violin. I can't play the violin, but I do read a lot, and I play with words a lot. So words and titles and so on keep coming into my work. And they frequently influence what I'm doing while I'm doing it. I'll think of a title and go in that direction with it. When I was a little kid, I decided that life is a cosmic joke. And what I do now is I read the news, and as you kind of indicated, a lot of it is pretty horrible. But I'm trying to make connections all the way through here with that. We're living through a nasty period. There was a time when I thought my work was too light, and I tried to get it heavier. It is a little heavier now than it used to be. Not just the titles, but working with decrepit pieces of wood and such. I had wanted them this show to do a mix of these pieces and some gouache paintings. I've always loved gouache. I was introduced to it in college. I abandoned oil paint quite quickly. And I tried acrylics and didn't like them, and I've always gone back to gouache. I haven't done it, well, I've done a little bit, but not much in the past few years. I actually started a few pieces for this show, but these got in the way and I kept going with them. So I'd like to get back to doing some gouache painting.